Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our lecture on Philippine Criminal Law, Book 2. Now we are in Title 4, Crimes Against Public Interest. Overview of Title 4. Title 4 of the Revised Penal Code covers crimes against public interest. So bakit ba merong mga ganitong crimes that are provided under the Revised Penal Code? Um, these crimes, or this title of the Revised Penal Code addresses crimes that threaten or harm the public's trust in the integrity of documents, currencies, weights, measures, and government services. So we will learn later what are the specific crimes under this title. These crimes involve acts that undermine public trust, falsify truth, or damage the integrity of public transactions. So, kailangan protektahan yung mga validity, genuineness, and integrity ng mga public transactions or public documents or even private documents, no? Kasi if we allow the commission of these crimes, then baka mawalan tayo ng trust or mawalan tayo ng tiwala sa ating gobyerno or sa mga transactions na ini-enter natin. So basically yan ang reason bakit merong bakit we punish or we penalize crimes against public interest. So our topic will discuss Articles 161 to 187 of the Revised Penal Code. So let's start with Article 161, which is the counterfeiting of the Great Seal of the Government of the Philippine Islands, forging the signature or seal or stamp of the Chief Executive. So the elements are as follows. Number one, the offender forged or counterfeited the Great Seal of the Government of the Philippines, or he forged the signature or stamp of the Chief Executive. Second, the act was intentional and without lawful authority. Example, creating a fake Great Seal to authenticate falsified diplomatic paper. So when you say counterfeiting, it means imitating, making an imitation of the Great Seal. No? So gumawa ka ng fake na seal in order to use it to falsify government documents, no? For it to appear na issued siya by the Philippine President. Or you forge the signature mismo ng Presidente ng Pilipinas. Or ginamit mo or finorge mo yung kanyang stamp, no? Or kanyang seal, no? As the President of the Philippines. So an example here is the case of People versus Abisamis, GR number L-10428, decided on June 29, 1957. Here, the accused forged the Great Seal to validate fake government contracts. So, issue does forging the Great Seal fall under Article 161? The answer is yes, because the Great Seal represents the authority of the state. Counterfeiting it undermines public trust. No? Baka next time wala nang maniwala sa inisyo ng president. No? If it will turn out na may mga incidents or instances ng forgery. So that's Article 161. Now, Article 162 is using forged signature or counterfeit seal or stamp of the president. So here, the offender here is not the author of the forgery or is not the one who counterfeited the seal or stamp of the president, but he is the one who ginamit siya yung gumamit ng forged signature. So even if hindi siya ang nag-forge, hindi siya ang nag-counterfeit, pero kung ginamit niya ang isang forged signature or counterfeited seal, then liable siya under Article 162. So the elements are as follows. The Great Seal of the Republic was counterfeited or the signature or stamp of the Chief Executive was forged by another person. So take note, ibang tao yung nag-forge or nag-counterfeit. Second is knowledge of the forgery or counterfeit, meaning to say, yung gumamit ng forged signature, dapat alam niya na forged yun or counterfeited yung seal ng Philippine government. But still, even if he or she has knowledge of the forgery or counterfeit, he used the counterfeited seal or forged signature or stamp, no? Of course, with intention to gain from the transaction, di ba? So, ito yung Article 162. Now we go to Article 163, which is the making, importing, and authoring false coins. So what is a coin? Ano ba itong coin? It is a piece of metal, no, stamped with certain marks and made current at a certain value. So yan yung definition ng coin. Um, So what are the elements, no, for Article 163? Number one, the offender made, imported, or uttered false coins in connivance with counterfeiters or importers. So take note, no, gumawa siya ng pekeng coin. Coin yung pinag-uusapan dito, hindi kasali yung notes or bills. Yung papel na pera, hindi kasali. So coins lang yung involved here, no, in Article 163. Or nag-import siya, meaning may pinasok siya na fake coin dito sa Pilipinas galing sa ibang bansa. So that's importation, bringing something to the Philippines, no? Or uttered means to dispose, or parang you use that false coins, no, and introduce it into circulation, meaning ginamit mo siya pambili ng mga ng mga things para mapunta siya sa circulation at magamit siya ng ibang tao. So that's utterance, no, of false coins. Second is coins resemble legal tender. So it's either a Philippine currency or foreign currency. So covered yung mga foreign coins. And third, offender knew they were false. So it's very important, no, knowledge of falsity of the coins. Take note here that the penalties depend on whether the counterfeited coins be any of the coinage of the Philippines or of a foreign country. So depende yung penalty natin. Example is smuggling fake 10 peso coins into the Philippines. So meaning may pinasok ka from other country dito sa Pilipinas na fake 10 peso coins. So that is a violation of Article 163. Now, case in point, US versus Basco, GR number L-1355, decided in March 14, 1904. Here, the accused imported fake silver coins and used them in trade. So does this fall under Article 163? The answer is yes. No, it disrupts monetary stability and public confidence in currency. So hindi na tayo maniwala, no, kung i-allow natin 'yan, then baka maraming i-introduce ng mga fake coins dito sa ating bansa, and then we will no longer have confidence, no, in using these coins. So yan yung essence uh, ng crimes, no, Title 4, which is crimes against public interest. So in this case, no, dalawa yung act na kinumit niya, nag-import siya at saka nag-utter, yan, utterance of false coins. Article 164, mutilation, importation, and utterance of mutilated coins. So, when you say mutilation, it means meron kang binago doon sa coin. No, it's either kinuha mo yung gold na part, like for example, sa 10 peso coin, di ba, may gold yan. So, kinuha mo yung gold na part, or you did some, parang sinira mo siya, no? Diniform mo yung coin. Di ba may mga coins na na-deform? Yung mga medyo, ano na siya, di na siya lingin kaayo. So that's mutilation, no, of coins. So, and importation or utterance, meaning may pinasok ka na mutilated na coin dito sa Pilipinas, galing sa ibang bansa. Or, you made use, ginamit mo yung mutilated coin, and you introduce it to circulation. So that's utterance of mutilated coins. So what are the elements? Number one, the offender commits any of the following. Number one, mutilates coins of legal currency of the Philippines or in connivance with mutilators. B, imports mutilated coins. C, utters mutilated coins. This second is done to gain profit or to defraud, no? Mangilad para makapangilad. Example, filing off gold from commemorative coins to sell as scrap. Ayan. Case here is People versus Galang, GR number L-5171, decided on December 14, 1953. Here, the accused removed portions of gold from the legal tender coins, no? Like what I've said earlier, no? Yung 10 peso naman to gold. So, pag kinuha mo yung gold dyan, tinanggal mo siya, so, dinisintegrate mo siya from the 10 peso coin, then that is already considered mutilation. Is this punishable under Article 164? Of course, the answer is yes. So, mutilation, meaning is to take off part of the metal either by filling it or substituting it for another metal of inferior quality to diminish by inferior means, to diminish metal contents. So, yan ang ibig sabihin ng mutilation. Article 165 is selling of false or mutilated coin without connivance. So, even if wala kang connivance with mutilators, if you sell false or mutilated coin, then you will be held liable under Article 165. So, what are the elements? Number one, offender possessed false or mutilated coin. Second, the offender knew that they were false. So, importante no sa element na alam dapat ng offender na yung kanyang coin is false or mutilated. Otherwise, he will not be held liable no for selling of false or mutilated coin. If wala naman siyang idea, hindi niya naman alam kung mutilated siya or false. And third is with intent to utter the same, meaning with the intention to introduce them to circulation, to use them for payment of something, or shall actually utter such coin, meaning to say, talagang ginamit niya. Bumili siya ng gamit, ginamit niya yung coin para makabili ng something. So that's actually uttering such coin, no? So 'di ba I said earlier na yung mga previous articles, they only cover coins, no? Yung coin ba? Barya. How about bills or notes, yung handbills, yung money, paper money. So, kung i-mutilate natin, i-destroy natin yung paper na money, will it make us held liable for or criminally liable? So, the answer is found in Presidential Decree number 247, which was issued July 18, 1973. So, this particular law prohibits and penalizes defacement, mutilation, tearing, burning, or destruction of central bank notes and coins. So, hindi lang coins, kasali yung mga bills or notes, no? So this law provides that it shall be unlawful for any person to willfully deface, mutilate, tear, burn, or destroy in any manner whatsoever currency notes and coins issued by the Central Bank of the Philippines. So kung meron kayong nahuli na kunyari tiner yung gigisi, sinira yung yung 50 peso bill, then he or she will be charged no under this particular special law, PD 247, not under the revised penal code. Kasi sa revised penal code, coins lang yung pinag-uusapan doon. But here, kung notes na or bills na ang sinira, mutilate, then he will be held liable under this particular special law. And second, that any person who shall violate this decree shall, upon conviction, be punished by a fine of not more than 20,000 pesos and or by imprisonment of not more than 5 years. So take note here na hindi necessary no na gamitin yung mutilated or destroyed notes or coins. The crime is already consummated if the person willfully deface, mutilate, tear, burn, or destroy such currency notes and coins. So, by the mere commission of the act of mutilation or tearing or burning or destroying, then liable ka na. So, hindi necessary na ginamit mo or inatter mo yung mutilated coin or mutilated bank notes, no, for you to be held liable. Now we go to Article 166, which is forging treasury or bank notes. So the elements here are the following. Number one, the offender commits any of the following. A, forges treasury or bank notes or certificates or other obligations and securities payable to bearer. B, imports and authors in connivance with forgers or importers such false or forged obligations or notes. Second element is with intent to deceive. Example, printing fake BSP issued banknotes. So the case here is People versus Pascual, GR number L-18848, February 28, 1964. So the accused here used a printing press to create fake 500 pesos bills. So is this punishable under Article 166? The answer is yes. Counterfeiting currency undermines the financial system. So alam nyo naman ito, no? Very self-explanatory, no? If you forge or you counterfeit banknotes, no? Like 1,000 pesos, 500 pesos, gawa kayo ng fake na mga money, then you will be held liable under Article 166. And aside from that is if you import, meaning galing sa ibang bansa, pinasok nyo sa Pilipinas yung mga fake money, at saka hindi lang yon, ginamit nyo pa sa circulation, meaning bumili kayo ng something out of that fake money. So that's punishable under Article 166. Article 167, counterfeiting instruments not payable to bearer. So the elements are forge any instrument not payable to bearer, and second, done with intent to defraud. Example here is forging postal money orders, no? Or checks, no? Checks that are payable to the order of someone. So, i-forge mo yan. So, People versus Ramos, GR number L-20977, March 31, 1966. Here, the accused forged money orders and encashed them. Is this included in Article 167? The answer is yes, no? Non-bearer instruments are also protected. What is postal money order? Ito yung cheque na gina-issue ng post office. So, ginagamit ito siya para magbayad, no? As a mode of payment, no? Na to government offices, no? Like for example, no, in our profession, like lawyers, if we want to pay a filing fee to the Supreme Court or to the Court of Appeals, we use postal money order. So, kumbaga, bilhin mo yung, parang cheque yan siya, bilhin mo sa post office, mag-issue yung post office ng cheque. Yan ang tawag dyan, postal money order. Tapos yun ang ibayad doon sa Supreme Court or sa Court of Appeals. Bakit ito ginagamit? Ginagamit ito as a mode of payment. Security kasi yan na talagang legit yung cheque, no? So kaya yan ang way, no, sa government, no, for you to pay for any fee, no, sa government, and the government ma-ensure nila na talagang totoo yung cheque. They will not accept, no, yung commercial na mga checks like issued by the banks. Except that there are government agencies like the Bureau of Internal Revenue accepts manager's check. No? Meaning, check issued by the manager of the bank. Pero yung normal lang na cheque na inisyu ng bank sa depositor, hindi tinatanggap yan ng government. No? Kasi baka bounced yan or walang laman. So, para makasiguro yung government na talagang may laman yung cheque, usually nire-require nila yung mga postal money orders. At ito ay nabibili sa post office. So if you forge that, kapag nag-counterfeit ka ng mga postal money order, then you will be held liable under Article 167. Next article is Article 168, which is the illegal possession and use of forged notes. Elements, possession of forged treasury or banknotes. Meaning to say, may hawak ka na fake 1,000 peso bill, di ba? And you have the knowledge of such falsity, meaning alam mo na hindi yan totoo, fake yan. And you have used, ginamit mo, or you have the intention to use that forged or fake money or banknotes. So example, paying taxes using forged bills, di ba? So the case here is People versus De La Cruz, GR number L-16524, decided in August 31, 1963. The accused here tried to pay fees with fake bills. Is intent to use enough? Yes. No, possession with intent to use is punishable. So even if you did not use it yet, hindi mo pa siya ginamit, for as long as you have possessed a fake banknote or and you have the knowledge of the falsity thereof, parang there is a presumption no, that you really have the intention no, to use it. So that's Article 168. So, kailan ba natin malalaman that there is forgery? No? Kailan ba nangyayari yung forgery? So, that is provided under Article 169. Number one, by giving to a treasury or banknote or any instrument payable to bearer or to order mentioned therein, the appearance of a true and genuine document. Parang pinapakita mo or you treat yung isang bagay, yung banknote or instrument na para siyang genuine or true. Parang that's how you, parang merong misrepresentation ba sa kanyang talagang whether true ba siya or genuine, di ba? Yeah, that's forgery. You make an impression of something, the appearance no of a true and genuine document pero hindi naman pala totoo. So that's forgery. Second, by erasing, substituting, counterfeiting, or altering by any means the figures, letters, words, or signs contained therein. Or yung forgery naman, pwedeng, kunyari sa isang document, meron kang inalis, may dinilit ka doon. Words ba, letters ba, figures ba, or signs, no? Para mag-appear na ito yung ibig sabihin niya ng document. So, parang may binago ka sa document, no? Or in any, kunyari, sa money. Kunyari, yung 1,000, dinilit mo yung zero para magiging 100 na lang siya. Or, merong example, yung mukha daw ni Rizal sa 1 peso coin, ah, anong tawag niyan? Pinalitan ng muka ng ibang tao. So that is forgery also, no? So by substituting or by erasing or altering, no? Any figures, letters, words, no? Contained in the note or instrument, no? So that's forgery.